Hello, dear Nightshades. It's Otti again. I'm sitting here online with Big Dad Ritch from the band Texas Hippie Coalition. Hello, first of all.
Howdy.
Howdy. First of all, thank you for having me. And we are going to talk about your new album and some stuff. So let's start with this. Where are you now, and what did you do before you came to this interview?
Right now, we're in Jacksonville, Florida. We're actually on tour. We just did 4 dates in Florida, so we're just down here in Florida and having a lot of fun oceanside.
That's cool. Yeah, I've seen you touring a lot at the moment. I have to say, for me, I don't have. I'm new to your music. Let's say it like this. It's just my first album I listened to. I never heard of you before. So what did I miss till now?
About 20 years.
Oh, okay. And what have been the most important points I've missed?
Yeah, we've been together about 20 years. This is our 7th album. You know, it's crazy that the band seems to grow. Its following grows. Every album we double down, every year we double down, but it seems as though that we are one of the most discovered bands on the planet, because every year new people discover us, as you are discovering us this year.
Yeah.
And keep finding people that are looking for this kind of music, and we're happy to be bringing it to the masses.
Yeah. I have to say, I've seen you touring a lot in your home country, USA. Have you been to Germany before? How often have you been here?
We've been to Germany. We played in Belgium, pretty close. Amsterdam. Been to Amsterdam 2 or 3 times. So, yeah, we just haven't made it over to Europe too much. Of course, we would love to. We seem to have a great following over there in Sweden and France and a few other places. So we would love to get over that way and show people what our show was like live, most definitely.
Cool. And now we'll talk about your album, the new album that's upcoming. It's not out now. The Name Lives On is the title. So maybe a stupid question, but which name is meant with this?
Well, the Name Lives On is actually talking about the band Texas Hippie Coalition. Death is received 3 times. When you pass, there is a death. When your soul leaves your body, there is a death. And the last time your name is spoken is a death. My hopes and our hopes are that the name Texas Hippie Coalition will live on for centuries to come, you know, at least decades, so that the name itself can live on. Same as we look back on, you know, Elvis Presley and bands that have came and gone and have went, you know. It's the way we speak about Jimi Hendrix still today, long after he's been gone. The name lives on.
Yeah, cool. That I would have to ask. So these are people you are looking to. You say they have inspired you. They have shown you how to rock, actually.
Oh yeah, there's no way. You know, I don't think there's any way that anybody in rock and roll wasn't influenced by or inspired by Elvis Presley. You know, if you asked me to name a fistful of my influences, you know, it'd be ZZ Top, Johnny Cash, Leonard Skinner, Motley Crue, and Pantera. You know, those are just some of my heavy influences.
Yeah, cool. And I have to say, the old rock musicians, all of those heroes, they are all from, you can say, 70s, 80s, 90s, from the 20th century. So what makes rock music and metal music still important in our times, in 21st century? I
kind of like all genres of music. I think that when you hear Texas Hippie Coalition You know, of course, you're going to have some influence from the 80s. That's when I was really, I was heavily into music from the day I was born. You know, I used to, my dad used me as child labor. I was his DJ. So I was always spinning albums for him and making sure he was hearing the stuff he wanted to hear. He turned me on to such great bands as Van Halen, Steve Miller Band, ZZ Top, and Leonard Skinner, of course, as aforementioned. And I turned him on to bands like Motley Crue and Pantera. And, you know, we're just both lovers of music. And, you know, it's just music has been a big part of my life. I know some people, music doesn't play a big role in their persona, but for me, music is a major part of my entity. It's a big part of who I am. And I just, music can take me places that that I want to go. You know, if I want to go to a good headspace, I just put on a good song and I'll get there.
I totally understand. And if you are, for example, tired, you can use music. If you want to make party, you can use another music. It's really, I think this is what connects us all as musicians, as music lovers, as music journalists, as I am. This feeling to know, for every moment you have the right soundtrack. I would say.
Exactly, absolutely. Music is the soundtrack of life. You hit the nail on the head right there.
Cool. And regarding the new album, which soundtrack, but also which influences have been there while you have written the new songs and the new lyrics?
You know, lyrical content. I'm driven by storytellers such as Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Haggard and Jones, you know, just good old country music storytelling. And then, you know, with the high energy, the power sort of from Pantera, and then that Southern rock influence comes through in a lot of the stuff that we do. So it's just, I think that for a lot of bands, they can genre identify themselves very easily. For this band, it's very hard to genre identify us. In some stores, we are actually in, you can find us in the rock and roll section. You can find us in the heavy metal section. And sometimes you'll even find us in the country section. I guess they see the big cowboy with the cowboy hat and they think that's where he belongs.
Yeah, they just look at the pictures and not at the music. I think in Germany you would be, in many stores it would be hard and heavy. It's like a phrase you always have, hard and heavy. It's everything that rocks and that's not pop music. So
I like hot, and I am a heavy man, so I like heavy. Hot and heavy sounds good to me.
I think, yeah, it fits for your music, I would say. But back to the album. Did you face any problems while writing and recording it?
No. You know, for us, you know, the only real problems are what songs are going to make it to the album. I have great songwriters inside my band with my bass player, Rado Romo, my two guitar players, Chord Pull and Nevada Romo. They're all great songwriters. And then if we're working with a producer that is a writer as well, you know, like Bob Marlette, the songs seem to flow pretty heavily. So the only real problem I ever see having is songs that don't make it on the album that I absolutely love and think are great songs. There just isn't room with them inside the 10 to 12 tracks we want to put on an album.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to find such a selection. But as I could listen to the album right now, so I think it's really tight. It's really going like this, having good curves from temper and from energy and stuff. I think that's something you looked for, to have really a tight album. Is it like that?
Thank you. I'm glad that can transcend across the pond like that, and that there in Germany that you're able to hear that, be able to hear the music, and then you can also what you take from it. I mean, I think all music for everybody should be whatever lays on their ears. However you perceive it or receive it, that's how it should be. And I think that however you can define it, whether it be in English or your own language, I think that's awesome. That it's something that that you can be descriptive on and put words to that identify it. So I'm very happy that ZZ Top has a song called Nationwide. I've always wanted to be worldwide. So I think it's great. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think you have the potential to even grow worldwide. So
yeah, global. These days, if you have any chance to go global, it's the best. It's the best turnout, the best possibility for you.
So we can't talk about every song. It would be boring for the watchers and just too much. But let's take one song because it's one of my favorites, License to Kill, as an example. So what's the background of this song?
License to Kill. Yeah. License to Kill is a fun song we've had written for a long time. We've had it in our set for about 3 or 4 years. It's just a song that's just about, it's to the point to where things have just gotten so out of hand that you just want to go ahead and just start shooting everything down, so nobody ever wants to break the law, but we all want to be outlaws, so that's the thing, is that I just feel like in that song you want the point to come across, that the time is here and the time is now, and I need a license to kill because chaos is about to be set free, and just gonna start shooting everything down.
Yeah, this outlaw romantic, I think it's the same with your optic, with your style. It's always like this cowboy and maybe a little bit. Do you think people like you because of this image, because of this hard image that comes out?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, who doesn't like John Wayne, and who isn't rooting for the big cowboy, you know what I mean? So I definitely think that comes across. And whenever I'm writing songs and I'm trying to get my message across, I like to think in a theatrical aspect, to where like we have one song off an old album called 8 Seconds, and it's actually written from the perspective of the bull, not the bull rider. So a song called Peacemaker, that's written from the point of the gun, and the peacemaker being the one who is the final justice. So yeah, whenever this album come about, and songs like The Name Lives On, you just want that to come through like a good old country western movie, where the hero is the gunslinger and the hero is the guy in black.
So that's
the man in black.
That's interesting. So are you more into the heroes of movies or literature, or into the villains? Who like you more? Who do you like more?
The thing about it is that often in this album, even I sing about certain things to where, and keep my name out of your mouth. Sometimes you can be painted as the villain, and in the end, people will discover that you were actually the hero. Even Jesus himself, by the Romans and the Jews, was perceived, I forget the actual word, but the word translates to outlaw. And now he's one of the biggest heroes in literature, so that's just the way I see it. Is sometimes we could be painted or portrayed by the media as the villain, but in actuality, the people know that Robin Hood is not a bad guy. He's a good guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's even mixes. Some people are partly good, partly they have bad sides. For example, I like Spider-Man, who always is a tragic hero, for example. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Venom is,
Yeah.
Venom was first introduced to us as a villain, but then we find out he has inner turmoil of being good or bad, and he's actually he's just a dark hero, you know.
Yeah. That's a great example, and this is why I, for example, like a little bit more Marvel comics than DC comics, because the DC guys are more separated, while the most Marvel characters are like mixed in their character.
DC seems to be written more in a way that is very black and white.
Yeah.
And sometimes I often say that the characters are made, they seem to be less human, where in Marvel you can, as a human being, we're able to identify with the characters even more because they do have true human aspects, struggles of the human mind, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's totally off topic, but if we are on this topic, so who's your favorite character of Marvel?
I do really like Venom, but when I was younger, I was really big into the X-Men and Wolverine, so much so that I named my firstborn son Logan.
That's cool. Okay, but finally, let's come back to your music, because this is where we actually talk about. So the album. What do you mean, or what are the main reasons why people should buy it, stream it, or something? Why do you think people should absolutely go onto the album?
That's a good question. It's kind of like, to go back to comic books, when you're first turned on to a comic book, you might be turned on to Spider-Man or Superman in the very beginning. But as you read and get through the comic books, you can start to find other characters that aren't necessarily mainstream characters. When you find someone like Moon Knight, or you find someone like Daredevil, who's kind of off the beaten path of the main superheroes. And I think that whenever you find Texas Hippie Coalition, that's what you're doing, is you're discovering something that isn't mainstream, that something that isn't following the beaten path. They have such a hard time genre identifying us that some good old country boys, Kevin Fowler, Cody Canada, and a few others were discussing us, and they said we were red dirt metal. And it's kind of, whenever people ask us what kind of music are you, we just tell them we're red dirt metal, because I feel like we're a total separate genre all by ourselves. And I think that's why people should take a chance to give it a listen to see if they like it, because it isn't going to be necessarily something that they've already heard before. And we all know there's so much music out there right now that sounds like everything else. And this right here sounds like nothing else.
And just for the people outside, would you prefer them to stream it or to listen to a physical copy?
If you want to help me and my family put food on the table, I would definitely prefer that you purchased it and listened to it. But maybe your family needs food on the table and not an album. So if you've got to steal it. And if you can stream it for cheap or stream it for free, well then, whatever you got to do to hear music. I'm just that kind of guy. I tell everybody every night on stage, if you can afford the album, go buy it. If you can't afford it, go steal it. So that's just,
And I don't mean stealing. It's not so cool, but I mean like Spotify or something where you can stream and artists get
No,
at least some sense. Yeah.
I'm definitely using the word loosely.
Okay. Okay, I understand. So, and that's a really cool interview, I think, but we have to find an end now. But one last question, just for me personally and for maybe people listening to us. If I ever come to Texas, if I ever come to the US, I've never been to the US, but if I come to Texas, where should I go? What should I visit?
You know, if you can get to Fort Worth, Texas is a great representation of what Texas is as an entirety. You can go eat a good old steak, probably one of the best steaks that you'll find in the world. You know, we have some of the best beef, best cattle in the world. I know Brazil is moving up there with their steak and their beef, but I do know that Texas has, when it comes to cooking meat, we're probably the best in the world at it. So if you could go and have a steak or eat some barbecue, I would do that, and I would get some pecan pie. If you haven't ever had pecan pie, you're going to love it. And if you have ever had pecan pie, you're going to realize that the best pecan pie comes from Texas. So that's one of the great things. You know, I'm a big food connoisseur. As you can tell by my size, I love to eat good food. And when it comes to barbecue, that's the best I could have, you know, over anything. And when it comes to a dessert, nothing beats pecan pie. So if you come to Fort Worth, you'll be able to go and see how they bring the cattle in, what they do with the cattle. There's just so much stuff there. You can catch great bands. There's Billy Bob's Texas there, Tannehill's Saloon. So you can go see some great bands from, you know, country music to rock and roll. It's just, you know, I could go on and on about Texas forever. You know, it's just, they call it the great state of Texas, and it is really great.
So great. That was really nice. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Pleasure. Actually, I enjoyed it very much, man. Thank you for your line of questions, and I appreciate you so very much. Thank you kindly.